It's time for the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Powerful and liberating business strategies you can start in 5 minutes or less. Now, here's your host, Dean Soto.
Hey, this is Dean Soto, founder of FreedomIn5Minutes.com and ProSulam.com. And we're here again with another Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode. Today's topic is this: patching the holes in your processes to bring massive profits. That and more coming up. Oh, hello. How's it going? Man, it is so nice right now where I am. It was 100 plus degrees and all of a sudden it just dropped down. We have a nice breeze going on. Hopefully you don't hear it on the mic. I have a new condenser mic that I'm using, a new lapel mic. I'm actually outside. For whatever reason, my iPhone mic was just horrible. So, hey, we're trying something new. And I just heard my kids start screaming, crying. So I'm guessing this is not going to be a long podcast. So we shall see what happened inside. Anyway, I'm staying out here. I do have the Lunameister around here. Lunameister is around here hanging out. And we do have some chickens and we have a whole bunch of things going on. So the other day, I made a big mistake. I ended up doing two things. One, so the first was, first things first, I created this whole water system using rubber hoses for my garden. And if you've ever done anything where you are working with a lot of water, a lot of hoses and things like that, one of the things that you need is this vinyl or latex tape. I don't know if it's latex or it's vinyl, but this tape that you put around the end of the hose, you put it on the threads of the hose, and what it does is it keeps it watertight. Because eventually all of your hoses, they're going to start leaking water at some point in time if you don't do that. Even if there's a washer or like a rubber washer and things like that, eventually that's just going to happen. And there were some spots where I did not put that tape, and I thought, there is a rubber washer there. I think it's fine. We'll be all good. And overnight, as I left my water system on, sitting there, it would start dripping, and it was literally wasting water. Now, I live in the mountains. I'm on a well, and especially now with pretty much a drought in California, you don't want to be wasting water, because it's just a bad idea. You never know when your well is going to go dry, and you want to maximize how much water that you have on a regular basis. So it's a very big no-no, just in general, to have your water go out like this, or to let your water run dry, or to waste your water. This is what I'm kind of trying to say. Well, all that being said, I knew that was happening, so I just kind of started turning the water off at night and kind of left it alone for a while. But then what I did was, I have these peach trees that are right next to the house, 4 different peach trees and a plum tree, and I have a jujube tree as well, and I go and I hand water those things. And what I do is I set an alarm for like 15 minutes, I deep water them. Deep water basically means let the hose just water them to where it's soaking underneath. You can't even see where it's at, and it gives water to these trees for quite a long time. So I'm doing that, and I always set these alarms because I'm so forgetful. I'm absent-minded in the first place, and I set these alarms on my phone so that I remember to go and turn off the water, right? Well, somehow I blew through all of the alarms and totally forgot to turn off the water, and it ran all night. And 2 tankfuls of water, basically about like 5,000 gallons, went to my trees, and that's about it. In the morning, we had no water pressure, no nothing. We had no water, and I'm thinking, what the heck happened? And apparently that's what happened. We literally had no water, and we had to wait for the well to fill up. And it took actually a couple of days for the well to fill up because, as this is going on, we're having record heat. I have misters that are for the dogs and the chickens, so that they feel comfortable. The cats, misters going on so that they're comfortable in this heat and they don't die. We actually have had in the past few years, we've had some of our animals die simply because of how hot it was getting. And so I decided we're definitely going to start using misters. So I have those running on timers during the day from like 10 to 6. Just at the hottest points of the day, and they eventually turn off. And then on top of that, I have timers for my garden, right? So those the garden needs to be watered as well. Then we have workers here who also needed it because it's dry and dusty, and they need to use the water because they're building a retaining wall. They need to use the water to compress the dirt and to get rid of the dust. And it was just like it was seriously the worst timing. But it was two massive, big, gaping holes. Actually, one was less massive. One was just, not using the tape, and so it was dripping and wasting water overnight. But leaving that, doing things myself, not having a system for it, and the system just not working, the system relying too much on my remembering to shut the thing off, caused a ton of disruption here and a lot of stress as well. So what I ended up doing is I had to conserve water. And then earlier today, I went and I made sure that all of the vital points that I have in my hose system, all of them had that special tape that keeps the water from dripping out. And I have all of my timers set, all of that good stuff going, and made it to basically where it's going to be really, really hard for something like that to ever happen again. Setting up a new system. I'm going to be setting up a new system for the peach trees so that I'm not manually watering those. Those will go on a timer as well so that they're manually watered. In fact, I might move them anyway because that's where a pool is going. But yeah, the biggest thing now, though, is now that it's all fixed and everything's patched in this system and process, my garden is booming. My garden is blooming and booming. So we have, every day we've been eating peppers from our garden. We've been eating tomatoes. We have carrots. Now we have tons of squashes and watermelon that are starting to grow. Have strawberries, beans, which beans are interesting. We have these tiny little bush beans, and I don't know if we're actually going to use them. Maybe I'll just use them to reseed later on. But we have bell peppers, jalapenos. Corn is knee high by July, so that's great. And so we'll be having corn later in this summer. That'll be pretty sweet. I don't know if it's sweet corn technically, but it'll be awesome. We have lettuce, kale, all this amazing stuff that now I do not have to worry about it, and has been growing tremendously once I started fixing this system, because now I don't have to worry about it at all. It's all on timers. It's all working together. It's all doing what it's supposed to do, and literally I just see it grow day after day without me having to intervene. And it's growing in a much faster, better way than when I had these when things weren't working out correctly and weren't working out right in the system itself. So the same thing. Why is this important? It's important because the same thing happens in your business. In fact, it happened to my business many, many times where I was relying too much on myself, or I was relying too much on a system that was not really the most optimal system, and it would keep me keep me stagnant. Whether it was an accounts receivable system, or whether it was a lead generation system, whether it was with my sales team, or even just knowing how to run certain numbers and things like that. There was always something that I had to patch. I had to find a way to to patch the system so that I could, the old saying is that to get to somewhere, how does it say? To get to somewhere where you've never been, you have to do something that you've never done. Something like that. Basically, if you want to get to the next level, you got to change what you're doing now. And that is so true, especially with systems, especially with processes. You have to tighten up those systems. You have to make sure that the biggest thing is having them in the first place, but then how can you optimize them? How can you take your sales team, for example, and make it to where maybe they are not the ones setting appointments. They're not the ones who are creating doing the lead generation portion of it. They are the ones who maybe you want to have your, how do I want to say it? Maybe you want to have your sales team be the closers rather than setters. So how can you separate what, you might already have a process. For me, I had a process where, like, basically my sales team, for the most part, if you want to even call it a system, they're the ones who are setting the appointments and they're doing lead generation. Well, now I have use an artificial intelligence bot to reach out to people to set appointments for my sales team. And to me, that's a great way. My peacock is presenting. I'm not sure. Maybe there's like a snake or something there. I'm not sure why it's presenting. Anyway, it's doing something to tell something like go away. Weird, maybe a snake. Anyway, but the biggest thing is not just creating a process, but optimizing your process and using that to create more profit, right? So for me, the AI bot has been great. We've already set 3 different appointments. We've set 3 different appointments using this AI bot for one of my sales guy. In fact, I have multiple sales guy, but it's only gotten to one in particular for whatever reason. Not sure why. And that one sales guy is now able to just get on the phone and call. And that's pretty amazing. Like that saves a lot of back and forth time, right? A ton of back and forth time with that sales guy trying to set up appointments. And so if you can optimize those processes, you'll end up creating much more profit over time. And so what can you do right now? And what can you do right now, whether it's lead generation or setting up, doing a process that you already have, like where maybe it's setting up appointments? How can you make it easier for your sales team? How can you make it easier for your appointment setters to make that happen? To increase the amount of appointments that are set, or to increase the conversion rate of the closers, right? For me, one of the processes that I'm tightening up is increasing the conversion rate of our closers. We're using a piece of software called Crystal Knows, like Crystal knows, like to know something. Crystal Knows, and what it does is it looks at the prospect's LinkedIn profile and looks at the prospect's LinkedIn profile and sends an email. It gives you the personality profile, the likely personality profile of that person. And so that way my salespeople, when they get on phones, they already know how to talk and how to close them, or at least have a good idea of what their personality type is like, so they're not conflicting and they can kind of mirror who they are. And it's already been pretty amazing. There's been 2 calls already, and it's been super valuable to my sales team. So that's just one process that we've been tightening up. But what's one thing that you can do right now? I challenge you this week to tighten up one process, especially one that brings in profit. Something with lead generation, something with closing, something with your sales team, and you'll see that there is a huge opportunity to make more profit when you tighten up your processes. All right, this is Dean Soto. I'm going to go in and see what the fuss was about. And it sounds like this mic is doing better than my normal iPhone, so we'll see how this goes. But until then, my friends, I will see you in the next Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast episode.
Thanks for listening to the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast. Now, head over to www.freedomin5minutes.com and register for our free masterclass and discover how to start systemizing and automating your entire business 5 minutes at a time. We'll see you next time on the Freedom in 5 Minutes podcast.